Am I the asshole for refusing to return my late wife's ring to the family? Throwaway account as the family are on Reddit, but I really need help. I am so frustrated and confused right now. I, F30, married my wife, F36, a year ago. We had been together 6 years, married for 1 before she passed away. It has been a really rocky time for me and I am still struggling but getting there, day by day. My wife had been close with her grandmother when she was growing up, and when she passed away her grandmother left a beautiful ring which had been in the family for generations. My wife used this ring to propose to me and it also became my wedding ring. I have worn it every day since she gave it to me, and it is truly my most precious item from her. It feels like she is with me always, and when I look at it, it brings my heart some happiness to remember our time together. My wife even spent money on the ring to get it restored as it had a few cosmetic faults, but by doing this it more or less doubled the value too. It is very unique and shaped like a snake with a diamond in its head and rubies for the eyes. The diamond was cracked and the blue enamel needed repairing, which she did before proposing. My brother-in-law has now decided to propose to his girlfriend, and he wants to use the snake ring as their grandmother wanted the ring to be used as an engagement ring for when one of her grandchildren wanted to marry. A first-come first-serve situation. Although it was never really expected her granddaughter would be doing the proposing, it was always assumed the boys would offer it to their GFs, but my wife got there and did it first, and that was that. It was never really questioned either, as my wife and she had been so close too. Nobody had any objections at the time as the ring was still within the family and neither of my bills were anywhere near getting engaged. I refused to give the ring back, and now I have caused a huge rift with my family-in-law. My mill and bills are all calling me an asshole as they want the ring to continue being part of their family and to be passed down in the generations as it was expected to. I am distraught. My wife and I were not big sentimental gift givers, and this is honestly the only thing she was truly proud to gift me. It was a huge deal for us and meant the world to both of us. My family-in-law have also thrown in my face that the grandmother wouldn't even have wanted me to have it since she was Russian and would very much be against a same-sex couple. This really hurts and feels like a low blow, as although it's definitely true I was accepted by my family-in-law. The grandmother had long been gone before I met my wife. They are now saying that it should go to the boys as she intended. It's all got really nasty and I just don't know what to do. The family have even offered to buy the ring off me for the full value of the ring with the repairs, but I refuse. It is the only thing I have of my wife, and parting with it feels like the only piece I have left of my broken heart being taken away. AITA. Edit. Oh my, I wasn't expecting such a huge response from this, and I wanted to thank everyone for your replies. I'm working through them. I just wanted to give you all a bit more information based on some of your comments. No, my wife and I did not have children. Grandma definitely wouldn't have accepted the relationship. She was very old-fashioned, shall we say. There are lots of comments about leaving the ring in my will, which I think is a great idea. I hadn't been able to think clearly since this all happened because I felt stricken with grief again after the shock of being asked. I am going to speak with Mill and brother-in-law ASAP and see if I can offer the ring to Bill's future children in my will. I don't want to part the family from the ring, but I don't want to part with it in my lifetime, so I'm hoping this can be resolved. I will post an update as soon as I have spoken to everyone. For those who have mentioned about giving it up if I remarry, I couldn't possibly answer this question at this point in time. My grief is blinding. To think about loving anybody else in this world feels absolutely impossible. Not the asshole. I'm sorry for your loss and this additional pain on top of it. Widows aren't usually expected to return their wedding ring. Edit. Wow. Thank you for the awards. Not the asshole. It is your ring, not theirs. The moment your wife gave it to you, any rights they had to it disappeared. A widow is not expected to return the ring, and that's what you are. Especially with the homophobic comments, I'd tell them to beat it. Your wife would be ashamed to see them acting so horrifically. Not the asshole. The family-in-law turned into the asshole by their low blow attack, even if it was true. I would keep the ring for now and give the ring, when you are ready, to the children or grandchildren of the in-laws. Not the asshole. Maybe offer to leave it to the family in your will so it goes back to them. But your wife gave you it, it's yours, you don't need to do anything and your brother-in-law can get his own ring. Don't let them guilt you into anything, stay strong. Biceps. Not the asshole. Do not give them back the ring. It has meaning to you and was one of the last things your late wife gave you. Also, I am so sorry about your loss. It may also be time to cut contact with your in-laws. Not the asshole. What kind of bride wants to take a ring off a widow? I'd be really unhappy wearing it, knowing it caused grief elsewhere. Perhaps you can agree to pass it on to one of the family in your will so it comes back? But you should be able to keep this memento with you as long as you wish. Not the asshole. She gave it to you and now it belongs to you. That is how gifts work, especially wedding rings. They have zero right to ask for it back and are huge assholes for demanding it back like that. I'm so sorry for your loss. Not the asshole. My empathy for your loss. There were no rules that said it had to go to one of the boys to give to their fiancé. If your wife were still alive, the ring would still be with you. I feel that if the ring were unaltered, I would consider giving it to them, but your wife specifically had work done on it because her intention was that this ring would be yours. I don't know if she ever discussed with you what would become of the ring once you both passed. If you planned on having kids, etc. You could consider leaving them the ring, after you pass. Not the asshole. Make a will. Spell out who will get the ring when you die. They can have it back, just not yet. So sorry for your loss plus you're having to deal with asshole in-laws. So this is actually a legal question and not the first time I've heard it and spent way too much time actually researching this. Engagement rings after divorce or death vary by state. Generational rings like this one almost always legally belong to the family it came from. It sucks for it to come at a time like this, but you really need to talk to a probate and estate lawyer. I don't think you are the asshole, however. I would give the ring back unless you have children that you could pass it on to. It's a family heirloom that has been in their family for generations. Unpopular opinion. Sorry, but this is an heirloom ring, expected to be passed down the generations in your late wife's family. If you remarry, what happens to the ring? Does it finally get passed on to them? You could get a copy made. Is there a reason why the ring is the only item you have left of her? Surely she's left some belongings behind. You're not wrong in wanting to keep it, but they're also not wrong for wanting it back amongst their family. Nah. Not the asshole. Suppose the situation were reversed and a man in the family proposed to a woman. Then the man died and neither of them had offspring. Would they really, seriously expect her to return the ring to the family? You are so not in the wrong here, Op. These people sound awful and I am so sorry they're putting you through this while you're still grieving. I hope things get better soon. Nah. You and her family are both dealing with grief. My aunt was in a similar situation when my uncle, not a blood relative, died under very tragic circumstances, and she had an item that he gave her that originally belonged to his mother that his brother wanted back. She and the brother are no longer on speaking terms because of it. I'm really sorry for your loss. Might I suggest some middle ground? Tell them if you remarry or pass away the ring will be returned. Until then it is your wedding ring and you intend to wear it as such. They have been horrible to you. They do not deserve such a courtesy. They are major league assholes. You are not the asshole, not in the least. However, it may bring peace. You are the asshole. If you want to honor your wife, you don't do it by warring with her family over material objects. Isn't your wife more important than to be reduced to this stupid issue? You admit it is an heirloom meant to be passed through the generations. Did you adopt or plan to adopt? Then you are willfully disrespecting the family tradition and your wife was wrong to pull it out of the rotation to give away to you knowing it would end the tradition, which is exactly what her grandmother would not want. To be clear, you can keep it legally. You are the asshole if you do though. Any normal person would value the memories shared with other family members about your wife. Others would hide in a cave and obsess over precious. Not the asshole, but I would put it in writing that the ring is to go back to a member of her family after your death so they can continue to pass it down. They may be afraid it will be lost from the family and this may help them accept your decision to keep it. Their comments are unacceptable though. Not the asshole. It's your wedding ring. If they didn't want her to give it to you, they should have sorted it then. They are assholes of the supreme order. And I am sorry for your loss and sorry for this additional pain. It's a family ring and had intentions of staying in the family. I would understand keeping it if you had kids to pass it to. But if you were to remarry then it wouldn't even be in the family anymore. Not the asshole. It's your wedding ring. It was left to your wife, meaning it belonged to her, not the whole family. She gave it to you, it now belongs to you. I don't believe it was meant for every time a grandchild proposed, so I don't know where your in-laws are getting that it should now be Bill's to propose with. It's done, it's yours, and it is still in the family, because you are family. You are their daughter-in-law, their daughter's wife. Also, I can't imagine what it would be like to see the wedding ring your late wife gave you being worn all the time by someone else, and that by itself makes your in-laws huge Oz. I'm sorry for your loss. Keep your wife's gift, she meant for it to be yours. Info. Would you will this heirloom ring back to the family at time of your death? Info. Grandma passed away, and left it to the family in general? A specific member of the family? Who? When Op's late wife got it to propose to Op, did she tell anyone? Did she just take it without talking to the person who it was left to, or talking to anybody if it wasn't left for someone in specific? Something here isn't adding up for me. The brother-in-law should not be surprised that you have it now. If everyone in the family knew she took it to propose to Op, and was fine with it, and it's only now, because Op's wife has passed and he wants it for his GF, that he's demanding it back, then NTA. You are the asshole. I'm sorry for your loss, but this very much sounds like a family ring and not the personal property of your wife. I know you have a sentimental attachment to the ring, but so does your wife's family. It was always meant to be passed down and for it to remain in the family. You should give it back. Not the asshole. Oh honey, I'm sorry for your loss and that your in-laws are being jerks. The ring became yours the moment your wife proposed to you. They have zero claim over it and it feels like the in-laws don't view your marriage as valid. It may be hard, but if they keep pressing the issue, you may need to just cut contact with them. I guarantee they would have been making these demands of Bill's future wife if they'd married first and he passed away. It's a hard one because while you lost your spouse and the ring is a symbolic token of her love for you, I can understand them not wanting to lose a family heirloom. I think the best option would be to tell them you'd be willing to leave it in a will for one of the descendants. Many years ago before we could wed I watched a family swoop in after a death and it was the most awful thing I'd ever seen. They even took control of my friend's body and removed his partner of 20 years from any planning. They, too, had been okay with the partner until they weren't anymore. Stand your ground, my sister. The ring was hers to give and yours to receive. Unlike my friends, you are married and protected. God knows you are not the asshole. I am so sorry for your loss. The right thing is to keep what is yours as close to your heart as you can. The type of ring you mention is a Victorian serpent ring. It represents eternal love. Keep it and her love eternally with you. Sorry for your loss. No, 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 no. You are significant other, not the asshole. If you'd gone through a divorce, then yes, definitely hand it back. But this? They should be ashamed to even ask. They want the ring to continue being part of their family. As your late wife's spouse, you are part of their family now. Not the asshole. The ring's function has been achieved. Sorry for your loss. Don't let them make that loss more complete. Not the asshole. My mom was very worried about her Russian parents' reaction to my lesbianism. The very first thing my grandmother said when my mom told her and introduced my, at the time, fiancé was, "Tell, fiancé, I love her too." To hell with their assumptions of homophobia. Not that it would matter if they were right. Your ring is yours, but they very well could be wrong. As long as in your will, the ring gets passed on to your brother-in-law children. Do you get why that is important? Not the asshole, that is your ring. And your wife's grandmother didn't leave the ring, to whichever grandkid, assumed boy, got engaged first. She left it specifically to her granddaughter in her will. And even if it was who went first, your wife frickin' proposed first. So both ways you approach this situation, it is your ring. So sorry that on top of such a horrible loss you are also delaying with these demons. Keep your ring. You can leave it to her family in your will if you feel so inclined. Nah, because it's understandable for you to treasure the gift. But it's also understandable the family wants to keep it in the family because it a family heirloom. And #X200B. But in reality, I wouldn't budge against homophobes. Their wants for the ring is valid, but the way they are treating you is not okay. In my opinion, they've used up any kindness they were entitled to. Maybe morally, if one values family heirlooms and their history, it's theirs, but legally it's yours. They're not the Oz for wanting a family heirloom back, but they are for how they handled it. Not the asshole, and I'm so sorry for your loss. I understand, on some level, I don't support it, why they want to keep the ring in the family, though it is, I argue, even though your wife has passed. But calling your relationship's validity into question because of the late grandmother's beliefs and insisting that boys should have it is thoughtless and cruel. Would they ask for it back if the ring went to this latest fiancé, bride and the groom, husband died? That's the question. If someone divorced, would they insist upon a return? Jewelry isn't a magnet that reverts to home base if something in a bond changes, a death or other disruption. Edit. Grammar. So much not the asshole. Your wife gave it to you and I'm certain would want it to remain with you. Your edit about comments leaving it in your will to her family is probably the best answer, as it will continue to be yours until you pass and then it goes back to her family. I hope something like that will satisfy them. I have my doubts but can only hope. I'm so sorry for your loss. Losing a spouse is the worst. Last week would have been my and my late husband's 13th anniversary. He's been gone almost 9 years and I still think about him every day. Huge hugs. It does get better. I promise. I am so sorry for your loss, and so sorry that the family you married into isn't supporting you through this time. There are 1,000,001 reasons that it's wrong you should even have to ask, but it looks like most other commenters have you covered. I just have to add another not the asshole vote. I'm torn between sobbing and gathering a Reddit group to go beat up the bad guys. I hope this situation gets better for you. Lots of hugs and thoughts headed your way. I'm so sorry for your loss. I don't think you should feel obligated to return this gift from your wife. Like others have said, it isn't the norm to ask widows for their ring back. Also, obviously they are struggling with the loss of your wife too, but telling you that the grandmother wouldn't have wanted you to have the ring because of homophobia is just gross. I feel like if they would even consider throwing that in your face, then you're better off not having a relationship with them. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but I think the ultimate fair thing to do would be to promise that when your brother-in-law kids get married they could have the ring to propose. You shouldn't have to eat the emotional pain of giving the ring back now just because it's an heirloom. Not the asshole, it's your ring, that's how it works. I agree that it would be kind to leave it to the next generation in your will, like your wife's grandmother did. But don't do it if they continue to be unreasonable monsters. Not the asshole. She gave the ring to you to be used by you. This isn't a situation where they just get to take back the ring because your wife died. R.I.P. Plus the ring has as much value to you as it does to them. This ring is a great memory of your awesome time with your wife and your wedding with her. I wouldn't give it away even if it causes a rift. Even if I were to be the a-hole, I wouldn't give it away. So keep it to remember your late wife with. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, and now you know that they didn't consider yours a real marriage. Ask them, if you did give it up to the brother-in-law and he died a year after the marriage, would they also hound his widow for the ring so the next sibling could use it? I'd tell the soon-to-be fiancé, but I'm mean. I'm sorry you're going through this. It sucks when people surprise you with how awful they are. You're not the asshole. I feel as though your wife's family really only wants the ring now in its restored state. Previously with a cracked diamond and worn enamel, it probably would have just been a near and dear knick-knack, not the ring they would want to propose with. Your wife wanted that ring to be yours. She repaired it ring for you, not her brothers and their fiancés. I hope it continues to remind you of the wonderful 6 years you had together and to give you the strength to keep moving forward. No assholes here, although their whole grandma was homophonic bit makes them an asshole for using that arrangement. I'm so sorry that you're going through this. Everyone is grieving and people don't always act regionally when they're grieving. There's no easy solution here. I hope you're able to work it out. Big hugs from me. Not the asshole that is your wedding band. That is what promises were made upon assumption with this ring. The marriage happened and you lost your wife, and I'm sorry they are being homophobic after the fact. Wow, not the asshole without a doubt. They are asking a grieving widow to return her wedding ring? They are so far down the asshole road they have nowhere to turn. They couldn't use another family ring for the tradition to continue? They couldn't start a new tradition? Nope. They have to be homophobic jerks to the grieving widow of their daughter. Ah, not the asshole. Your wife was given the ring to propose, as intended by the previous owner, the grandma. Grandma didn't add any stipulations to the gift, i.e. return to family upon divorce or death. It's yours, and you have all the rights to decide whether you want to keep it. You do. End of the story. Peas. They are the Oz for calling you not family. Yes, you are not blood relatives. But you are family, full stop. And super Oz for using grandma and same-sex couples reasoning to malign your marriage. Sorry for your loss. Y'all weren't just engaged. Nor did you divorce prior to your wife's passing. If either were the case, their request might make sense, but widows keep their wedding rings. No matter what. If the family thought your wife was going against her grandmother's wishes, then they should have done something before she proposed to you with this ring. Hell, if the ring was used as your wife's engagement ring, that might be a different story. They've crossed multiple lines with their request and especially with their continued harassment. Not the asshole. I'm so sorry for your loss and what you're going through. I hope they wise up and apologize, but it seems like you'll need to go NC with them. They want you to return your wedding ring? Not the asshole. I have an heirloom item and my family would be devastated if I died and they couldn't get it back. It's been in the family for like 200 years. That being said, I do not think you're the asshole. This has sentimental value and she did a lot of work for it. I think no assholes here except for when they brought up the homophobia. Otherwise I get why they're upset and I also get why you want to keep it. Maybe if you get some conditions like I'll will it back to my niece or nephew or give it back when I remarry, it'll be a little less. You will never see this priceless item again. You're all grieving right now. Not the asshole. I'm sorry you have to deal with this op. I think most of what I would say has already been mentioned, so I'll just comment on one thing. The grandmother wouldn't even have wanted me to have it since she was Russian and would be against a same-sex couple. I think it was unfair and unreasonable to say this. Your wife and her grandmother were close, so it's also totally possible that her grandmother would choose to embrace her identity in your marriage. Although Russia may have a reputation as being homophobic, many Americans are too, and your family-in-law clearly has some bias against same-sex relationships.